It does also tell us that it sounds like the inquiry had reached out to Edwina Currie already, and it sounds like she's probably not going to have much information to offer up.
Factor 8. Exposing the contaminated blood scandal.
I'm Jason Evans, and today we're going to be looking at this book here. This is the Edwina Currie Diaries from 87 to 92. Now, in this book, Edwina talks about the contaminated blood scandal. She talks about Ken Clarke and a couple of other things. I know that Edwina Currie has said some controversial, to put it that way, things in the past. Not going to explore those today. They're out there. They're well described. Many of you will know them. We're going to be looking specifically at what Edwina Currie said in this book about the contaminated blood scandal and Ken Clarke. In the first extract that we're going to look at, Edwina Currie is talking about a doctor who was infected with HIV after operating on patients in Africa. And within the context of that, she actually talks about the contaminated blood scandal, and she talks about how in 1983 she had asked Ken Clarke about the risk of AIDS being transmitted through blood products. So she says here, "I shan't ever forget my November 83 question on transmission of AIDS through blood transfusion, put up to it by constituent haemophiliacs almost certainly now infected, to which Ken Clarke answered that there was no evidence that AIDS was transmitted through blood." And she then says, "I suppose if I'm being totally honest, there's also the thought that if one of these liability cases goes badly wrong, it could just be me that has to defend it sometime in the future." And then also later on in the book, we get another interesting insight as far as what Edwina Currie thinks of Ken Clarke as an individual, his character and his style. She says, "That's the trouble with an instinctive politician. He starts off with an opinion and is reluctant to modify it in light of the facts." And I think this is quite important because it's something that I think has been hinted at through some of the inquiry hearings we've heard so far, about where evidence is becoming pretty clear that there is a risk and that perhaps certain action should be taken. But because of long-held opinions, there is this, for some people, a resistance to act in light of changing facts and in light of changing information. And it seems like what Edwina Currie is saying, that as well as what we may have seen about certain clinicians through the infected blood inquiry, that this was also something seen perhaps with Ken Clarke, according to her. And on a completely different note, later on in the book, Edwina Currie's talking just a little bit about Ken Clarke's relationship with the pharmaceutical industry. So we can see here, she says, "I was invited to the ABPI dinner." So just to freeze there a second, the ABPI is the Association of the British Pharmaceutical Industries. So she's at this dinner at the Grosvenor House Hotel. "I wasn't on top table, but right next to it, next to the director who had done the seating plan. Nice compliment. Top table was a few yards away with Ken Clarke, not the other ministers, puffing away on a huge cigar. Golly, I do loathe that. It is such bad manners when hardly anyone else is smoking. We fell out for a lot of unspoken reasons, he and I, but his insensitivity to other people, his total lack of recognition for how things change, rules him out as a future leader as far as I'm concerned, and a future boss too." Interesting. It is one person's opinion, but it's interesting to note. Finally, I think it's only fair to mention that last year I did invite Edwina Currie to do an interview, which through my own ignorance was quite bad timing. This was late last year when I reached out to Edwina Currie to do an interview, and it turned out, little did I know at the time, that this was only a couple weeks after her husband had actually died. But she did reply to me a couple of days later, and this is what she said. "Hello Jason, as you can see below, I lost my husband to cancer recently, so I'm not taking on anything extra right now. I've told the inquiry that I really don't remember much about the whole Factor 8 tragedy, and that's true. Stay safe out there, Edwina." Despite being quite a short email, it does also tell us that it sounds like the inquiry has reached out to Edwina Currie already, and it sounds like she's probably not going to have much information to offer up. Just to remind everyone, the infected blood inquiry is now on a break from hearings until mid-May, I believe, off the top of my head. So not much going on in terms of the inquiry over the next 5 6 weeks. But I'm going to continue to put out some video content in the meantime. So that's all for now. See you again soon.
Factor 8. Exposing the contaminated blood scandal.